I really believe is an essential component of a freedom society to have freedom in your financial systems. We're going to a world in which there is no cash. We're going to a world in which your data is collected every single day in everything you do. And you're going to a world in which finance and banks have too much power. I believe in that. So what we need to encourage is a world in which people have financial freedom and financial decisions. It is an essential key to have a freedom society, a society in which people value their privacy, their options, in which people have the option that if they don't like the domestic currency, they can have. Not many people know that activists from authoritarian countries, even when they move to the European Union, it is extremely difficult for them to open bank accounts. They get deplatformed. Why? Because when they go to a regular bank, either they don't have the legal status still set, but even if they do, imagine if you go and you try to open a bank account, and then the compliance teams of the financial institutions see millions or hundreds of disinformation campaigns about you as an activist. Every activist that comes from Venezuela or every activist that comes from an authoritarian country is always called as a terrorist or as a person against the homeland. So if a compliance team of a bank, when they see that, they reject the application from people who want to open bank accounts in the EU in euros. So for many people, for many activists that live in Europe, Bitcoin essentially becomes their bank of last resort. The second thing, or the second way that we need to see Bitcoin is a way for civilians to also escape the astonishing levels of financial repression that our countries have. In countries like mine, you cannot save in domestic currency. You cannot save in bolivars, because otherwise all your money will be gone. So basically, the only way that people can save is either if you have a bank account in the US or in Europe, but how many people have actually have the chance to go to Europe or to go to the US and open bank accounts? It's an extremely difficult, lengthy, and costly process. So many people that the only way that they can save money, the few money that they can save from their salaries, is by creating wallets. And through Bitcoin, they're able to do so. When you are in countries like Venezuela, when you have hyperinflation, and when you have such astonishing levels of financial repression, then Bitcoin becomes the most important tool to do activism. Because imagine if you are an activist and you have a bank account and all the banking system is controlled or monitored by the regime, then it is impossible to, for instance, operate in a country like Venezuela. So the same stories I start hearing from people from Africa, the same stories I start hearing from people in the Middle East, not even purely authoritarian countries, but also countries like Lebanon, countries like Turkey, countries like Nigeria, in which it is impossible to have a bank account and to safely do activism. What we do, and the way we use Bitcoin, for example, in my organization, is as a tool for civil resistance. We believe that Bitcoin is a tool to fight authoritarian regimes. Bitcoin has become a vehicle for us to do activism in many places.